what's up guys? Rideshare Guy here, and today I've got a video that's going to talk about insurance. So I'm going to try not to go too long, but I want to give you guys all of the information you'll need. Now, things are always changing when it comes to insurance, but I really want to tell you guys, the video is going to be what do drivers need to know about rideshare insurance. So whether you're new, whether you've been in this game for a while, insurance is obviously a huge issue for drivers because frankly, there's some issues, there's some problems with the current insurance setup. Now, most of you guys are probably out there driving around with your personal insurance, okay? And unfortunately, technically, most personal insurers don't allow that. Now, you can go out and so they call it 3 different periods. So I'll go over the periods really quickly. Period 1, period 2, and period 3. So period 1 is when you have the app on and you actually don't have a passenger though. You may be driving around, you may be in a parking lot, you may be sitting at home on your couch. Period 2 is when you've accepted a trip and you're en route to a passenger. Period 3 is once that passenger is in the car. Now, for me, there's really no problems with period 2 and period 3 insurance. Uber provides 1 million liability. They provide collision coverage with a $1,000 deductible. And basically, overall, the insurance is pretty solid when you're on period 2 or period 3, right? So when you're en route to a passenger or when you're with a passenger, right? So I don't have too many issues with that. It's really where the issues arise is during that period 1, and they call it the gap period. And that's where this huge battle over insurance companies and Uber and law regulators, and it's really causing a lot of problems. And a lot of the risk is unfortunately being shifted onto drivers. So what you guys need to know is that if you're with a personal auto policy, they most likely don't cover you during that period 1. So let's say you were to get into an accident during period 1, you're out driving around looking for a fare. Uber does provide limited liability coverage, but they don't provide any collision coverage whatsoever. Okay, so let's say you get into an accident during period 1, you go and report it to Uber's insurance. They say, okay, well, we'll cover if there's any liability, but if there's any damage to your car, and obviously in most accidents, it's called an accident for a reason, right? Because there's going to be damage to your car, the other person's car, right? That's kind of the point of a collision deductible, but they won't cover that collision. So you say, okay, I'm going to go to my personal insurer. Now, the problem is a lot of personal insurers have caught on to this and they're starting to ask drivers, just any old driver, right? Even if they don't know whether you're an Uber or Lyft driver or not, they'll say, if you report an accident, they say, were you out driving for Uber or Lyft? They specifically ask that question now. And at that point, drivers are put in a really tough situation because if they want to get coverage, they have to lie. If they don't want to get coverage, or if they say that they were out driving for Uber and Lyft, then they're not going to get covered and they're going to be kind of on their own for that accident to cover the costs of repairs. And on top of that, they may actually even get dropped by their insurer. So this is kind of where it creates a huge problem. And I think a lot of drivers are out there in this tough situation. So I definitely want you guys to understand the risk of what you're out there doing. Fortunately, there's more and more rideshare insurance options every day. So I'm talking about personal policies that will actually cover drivers in that period 1. So I'm here in California, there's Farmers, there's Metro Mile, and then I think Mercury Insurance just announced that they're coming to California too. In other states, there are a lot of other options, Geico, MetLife, USAA, but the problem is that rideshare insurance depends on each and every single state, right? So if there's Geico in one state, they may not be in the neighboring state. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest, to figure this out. Hey, how can I get coverage, right? You might live in a state where there's different options than your neighbor. You may even live in a state where there's no options. And that's where I think kind of the big risk is if you don't even have a single option. So fortunately, there are more options being added every single day. We maintain a full updated database on our site. You can sort it by state and see which companies will give you rideshare insurance options. We'll give you options and recommended agents who we've worked with, who we think do a good job, and who we've referred clients to in the past. So definitely I'll leave a link right below and you can check it out in the show notes. You go and check that out. But I think that rideshare insurance is kind of one of those, it's not the sexiest topic. So a lot of people kind of delay and don't really want to think about it until it's too late. And if anything, you got to be prepared. At least go and get a quote, see how it compares to your normal personal insurance, and then you can kind of make the decision from there. Because unfortunately, during that period 2 and 3, the coverage is okay, which is a good thing. But during that period 1, and just in general, being a rideshare driver under a personal auto policy is where you run into some risk and where you got to kind of make sure that you're basically on top of everything. Because right now, whether you guys realize it or not, you're running a business. business, and you got to take into account the liability and that aspect of running a business, right? It's not all, you get a lot of flexibility as an Uber driver, but obviously you need to sacrifice something. So this is one of those things you need to sacrifice and really do a good job of looking into. So if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them below. If you haven't checked out some rideshare insurance options, or at least gotten a quote just to see how it compares, I'll leave a link below. And in the show notes, you guys go over to our rideshare insurance options page. You can sort it by state and see which agents, which companies are available in your area. So other than that, we'll definitely reach out in the comments. Let me know if you've had any experience with this, if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys around. Take care.